Welcome to another edition of It's Your County, the show dedicated to keeping you connected and informed of what's going on inside your county government. I'm pleased to have with me my co-host and local media personality, Chris Ingram.
Kevin, thanks for having me here, and let's get started with the Board of County Commission news and review so that we can tell all our viewers about what's going on inside the Board of County Commissioners.
Chris, we have three major headlines that have happened since our last show, and they are as follows. Number 3, Civil Citations give youth a second chance. Number 2, the county takes step towards equalities for all. And number 1, Transportation Planning Group seeks citizen input.
Kevin, let's start talking about number 3, Civil Citations give youth a second chance. What is this program and how is it different from other diversion programs?
Chris, the Civil Citation Program formed back in 2006. It started in the school districts when it was recognized that there are a lot of kids that were being arrested for misdemeanor crimes. And these were mistakes that kids make, for instance, stealing from the stores, or they may have gotten into a fight at the schoolyard. And so instead of arresting the child and giving them an arrest record, there was a process that was established that held the child accountable for what they had done, but at the completion of the program and after they have also accepted responsibility and paid restitution, they would not have an arrest record. And that is probably the most critical thing that separates that from other programs. We have found that a child who has an arrest record has a much more difficult time gaining employment, going on to school, or entering into the military. So unlike diversion programs, where when a child would go through a diversion program, you will have an arrest record. After the civil citation is completed, there will be no arrest record, so it's almost as if the incident in the child's file had not occurred, although there is a mark that stays there for law enforcement purposes.
And how serious of a crime, up to what level does one not be eligible for this type of program, let's say?
There are typically 9 misdemeanors that would be eligible, as well as the county ordinances. And so it's really also important to understand that a child cannot continue to commit the misdemeanor crimes and be eligible for civil citation. So in essence, they really get one bite at the apple. And so our whole goal with the program, which we expanded countywide in 2011, is to make sure that every child countywide, if you make a mistake, you're held accountable for your mistake, but at the same point in time, we want to make sure that there's not going to be an adverse consequences that would prevent the child from getting a job, from going to the military, or being able to go on to college.
But at the same time, so the citizens understand, this isn't just giving everyone a get-out-of-jail-free card for any crime. If it's a violent crime or a drug-related crime, they're going to have to face the regular consequences, but this is for more of like just kind of kids being kids kind of silliness, right?
Well, absolutely. And the whole goal is around public safety. And so crimes that are violent in nature or that are related to drugs and alcohol, however, is included in there, they would not be eligible for that. So we would not be putting dangerous kids out in the streets or not having them held accountable in the regular court system.
So this program's been in place countywide since 2011. Tell us a little bit about the results.
Well, Chris, the program has done extraordinarily well. In a recent evaluation that was done of the program, 723 county children who participated in the program, out of those children, 86 reoffended. That means 88% of them completed the program successfully. So those are all kids now that are able to go on, that don't have that criminal record. And again, as we mentioned before, it really impacts them when it comes time to apply for college or in the military or to get a good paying job. So we're continuing to evaluate the program, to tweak it a little bit, but overall it's been a great benefit for our children.
Well, last question, does this free up law enforcement and the judicial system? I mean, does it kind of ease the burden in those areas as well?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the advantages of the system, is it also creates cost-efficient savings. On average, when a child or an individual is arrested, it costs roughly about $5,000 to put them through the process process. Civil citations are typically under about $365 or and somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's a lot more cost efficient. The child doesn't have an arrest record, and most importantly, we recognize and we're looking for different types of services that we might be able to connect the child to. So not only do they avoid the arrest record, but they're also fully evaluated, and if they have, for instance, anger management issues, character building issues that they might need to, drug or alcohol issues inside the family, then we're able to refer them also to those appropriate services so the child and or the family can get the appropriate help.
Well, it sounds like a really worthwhile program. I know you and the other commissioners have put a lot of time and input into this, and kudos to you all.
Well, it's been a community effort, and so you know, we've had a collaboration that's been in part that includes all the community stakeholders, the sheriff's office, law enforcement, all the municipal law enforcement has been involved, the state attorney, as well as the public defender. The community has come together to make sure that kids that act out, and as many kids often do, make sure that their life isn't permanently impacted from simple mistakes that they may have made.
Let's talk now about BOCC issue number 2, County Takes Step Toward Equality for All. I've read a little bit about this, and I'm curious, what exactly is this program, and what is it really necessary?
It's interesting that you ask that, Chris, because it's hard to believe that in 2014, if we look in the United States, that in 29 states, it is still perfectly legal to fire an individual because they are gay. In 34 states, because of their gender identity or how they express their gender, it's still legal to fire them. In the state of Florida, it's one of those states. Hillsborough County is a little bit more complex, because in the city of Tampa, for instance, it is not legal to fire somebody because of their sexual orientation or their gender identity. However, in Hillsborough County, it is still perfectly legal to do so. So what I'm proposing to the board, and what the board is on track to pass, is an amendment to our human rights ordinance that would make it illegal to fire an individual in employment and public housing, contracting work in Hillsborough County as a whole based on sexual orientation or gender identity. This is important not only to protect the rights of the individual, but there are companies out there, Chris, that are looking to relocate, and one of the issues they want to make sure is that their employees, wherever they move to, feel that they are welcome and that their rights are protected as well.
Now, this was a unanimous vote on the Board of County Commissioners, and it will go to legal counsel that will draft the language, and then the commission will reconsider or will consider that language at some point in the future?
At its July 16th meeting, Chris, the board unanimously took action to direct the county attorney to draft language for the human rights ordinance that would include sexual orientation and gender identity and or expression as things that people could not be discriminated against. And then moving forward, that is going to the Human Relations Board for their input, and then that will come back to the board early on in the fall. We expect sometime probably in early September. The board would then approve the language, and then a public hearing would be set, and most likely that would be sometime in October, and then the board would make the final vote to pass the ordinance.
Now, we haven't seen or heard as much opposition on this issue as we would have seen in the past. How do you explain that?
I think some of it, Chris, is the passage of time. People, as they have developed relationships in the community, they know somebody who's gay or transgendered. I think that helps. Also, the business community has had a lot to do. Before they had not been involved at the table or had their input. And so we were really very impressed as we went and talked with the business community. The number of businesses says that this just makes sense for business for Hillsborough County.
How so? And who are some of the businesses that are behind this measure?
You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you have the Lightning, you have the Rays, there's Wells Fargo, there's Bank of America, Carlton Fields. There are many, many, many large companies that have signed on, And Chris, they really get what's happening. They get how this can impact their businesses. In fact, there's been over 90% of Fortune 500 companies have actually passed their own non-discrimination policy inside their firms. So what that says is that companies get it. Number one, they want to be able to recruit and retain the best and the brightest. And number two, they also realize the economic impact it can have on their business. Many people don't realize that in the LGBT community, it's about $1 trillion wallet that they have. And so companies get and realize that this can impact their bottom line, and they want a piece of that market share. And then the other ones we've talked to said, you know, it is just simply the right thing to do. So that's why scores of businesses have gotten behind this.
Well, very good, and congratulations to you and all your efforts. Do you want to make a prediction? Will this be a part of county ordinance by the end of the year?
I absolutely believe that it will be. So, and we look forward to make sure that everybody is treated equally, fairly, and with human dignity and respect.
Very good. All right, Kevin, let's move on to Board of County Commissioners issue number 1, the Transportation Policy Leadership Group. Everyone that drives the roads in Hillsborough County is well aware of the traffic problems, the congestion, the road construction. What's really going on with transportation, and when are we going to see the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel?
Well, that's what we're trying to get to, Chris. Transportation is one of the most underfunded infrastructure items that we've got inside the county. And so over a year ago, we formed the Policy Leadership Group, and that's comprised of the Board of County Commissioners. It's all of the municipal mayors, Representative Hart's at the table. All of the key decision makers that can help move transportation forward are at the table. So over the last year, we have been working on providing a comprehensive plan that we can provide to the public that would, we believe, would help ease some of the transportation issues that we have in our county. And so we have rolled out actually now what is really a conglomerate of nearly over 20 years of studies. And these studies contain all of the main infrastructure needs that we believe that have been pointed out that are really important to the transportation network. And so now we are taking those out to the public and asking the public's help to help us prioritize that. The reason why we have to go out to the public is because there's over $10 billion worth of infrastructure transit needs. However, we obviously don't have those types of resources to be able to implement all of those things at once, and that's why we're going to have to prioritize them.
Well, very good. Now, I know the policy, Transportation Policy Leadership Group is asking for public input. Do they really want that? I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical sometimes. Do you really want my opinion? And are they looking for suggestions on what to do, or is it more of, does the public think this is a good idea?
Look, Chris, transportation, we cannot put the infrastructure that we need for transportation without the citizens' help. Obviously, we have to have the resources to be able to pay for it. It's your tax dollars, and so we are extraordinarily interested in what you feel are the priorities inside the county. And every single part of the county is a little bit different. And so we are going out and we're going to conduct different town hall forums. There'll be different other ways that you can participate to elicit your feedback, but your feedback is extraordinarily important as far as what you believe is important to transit. And so yes, we are serious about your feedback and we want to get that.
So Kevin, how do people participate?
Chris, people can get involved and learn where the forums are going to happen by going to hillsboroughcounty.org/TED or follow the conversation on Twitter with #TransportHCFL, or you can email questions to TED@hillsboroughcounty.org.
To learn more about all of these BOCC topics, go to CommissionerBeckner.com and click on the It's Your County tab. We'll be right back with our visit to the county's Pet Resource Center.
Have a call back for 86 seconds. Negative K, nothing further.
911, what is your emergency?
I can't find my son, he's missing! I think someone took him!
Where did you see him last?
He was with me outside of our apartment. I was talking on the phone, and when I turned around, he was gone.
How old is he?
He's 3 years old. Oh God, please help me.
I'm sending help right now. Have you searched the complex completely?
I'm doing that now. Justin! Justin! Oh my God, he's in the pool! I can see him in the pool! He's face down! Somebody help me! Help me!
You can't hear them. You can't see them. They can't scream for help.
I'm Kelly Paris, Executive Director of the Children's Board of Hillsborough County. The reasons we enjoy living in Tampa Bay is exactly why we have to be water smart from the start. Water safety is everyone's responsibility, whether at the beach or your neighborhood pool. Children between the ages of 1 and 5 have the highest rates of drowning. In fact, Florida is 300% higher than any other state in the nation. Fortunately, drowning is 100% preventable with swimming supervision, barriers to water entry, and emergency preparedness. This water safety DVD is full of valuable information for you, your friends, and family, and you may even recognize some faces. Remember, water safety is key, and it's up to you and me.
I'm here at the Hillsborough County's Pet Resource Center with our director, Scott Trebetowski. And who's our little friend here, Scott?
This is Shane. He's up for adoption. It's a cute little kitten.
Oh, look at Shane. Well, Scott, I'd like to, number one, thank you for being on the show. And first, I'd like to welcome you to Hillsborough County. You've been on the job now since March. And we're so thankful and grateful that you're here. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and about your background and how'd you get involved with animals?
It's kind of interesting. I have a varied background from construction to retail to human resources, and then I sort of stumbled into sheltering, and it's one of those things that once you're in it, the passion kind of catches, and I've been doing that now for going on 15 years. So
the last place you were at the Jacksonville shelter. Tell us a little bit about the differences between Jacksonville and then when you came in here to Hillsborough County.
In Jacksonville, we started with only a 18% live release rate and turned that around to a 90%. Here we're starting at 45%. We have much more passionate people here locally, but I think that diversity and that passion will actually help us get to our goal quicker. It's just a matter of getting everybody working together instead of into a segmented community.
And I know you mentioned one of the larger things that we have been focused on as a Board of County Commissioners is we wanted to increase the amount of live outcomes that we had from our shelters and decrease euthanasia. What do you see as some of the challenges in being able to decrease the live outcome rate?
I think some of the bigger challenges are going to change some of the attitudes towards certain types of animals, certain breeds. I think we've made some tremendous progress. We're hanging out right around 70% live release. We came in at about 45%, so the community's really responded well to the changes that we've made.
What are the keys? What are some of the changes that you implemented when you got here that you think is attributed to the increased live rate release?
One of the big changes was sterilizing animals before they go up for adoption. In the past, I think they had a little bit more of a pessimistic idea that we wouldn't do the sterilization until after someone chose them. But we've become a society of instant gratification, so we have to kind of match what the public's looking for, and the public would like to take their animals home as soon as they choose them. So we went that route, and it's really, really been very well received by the public.
And I would imagine a large part of the plan is to increase adoptions. What would you implement, or what are you doing now to increase the adoptions?
We are running specials on a regular basis. Whenever we have a bunch of animals of a specific kind, we'll put them on special. We've started what we're calling our First Saturday celebrations, where every first Saturday of every month we'll have like a little festival type atmosphere here, have a bunch of animals, have special prices, have resources, have veterinarians, have all kinds of positives here. So even if you're not looking to adopt, you can come out and enjoy the facility, and then we think the more people spend time here, the more they'll want to come and adopt.
So, and that just started this past August?
Yeah, it just started this past August.
Okay, and you've had your first one, and how is that going?
The first one was a great success. We had 106 animals the first day. I think our biggest Saturday prior to that was 55, so we almost doubled the number of animals that were adopted and brought out on a Saturday, and we think they're just going to grow from there to being even higher. So
Do you tend to get more dogs or cats or equal amounts that come in?
there's slightly more cats than dogs, but that kind of also fits in with the pet owning population. Cats are slightly more owned as pets than dogs as well.
Now, one of the things that I know we focused on as a board was very controversial was our trap, neuter, and release program. And would you say, is that an important part of the mix in being able to increase the live outcomes?
I do think so. I think that having those community cat management programs are sort of cutting edge right now. I think someday everybody will be doing them because there's just a certain number of animals that are not social enough that to live inside. They're currently living outside. I think the public eventually will stop having so many cats live outdoors, but we've got to adapt to what the public has done, which is decades of animals living outdoors. So we want to return them vaccinated and sterilized.
Well, for people that are listening that might not be familiar with trap, neuter, and release, explain a little bit about how that works and how that...
One of the biggest misconceptions, and this is one that really we need to get out there, is we're not putting any animals out that weren't already there. So what we do is animals that are trapped are brought in, checked medically. If they're healthy and not social, we'll sterilize them, vaccinate them, and put them right back where they came. So we're not relocating them, and we're not adding any new animals. If they're unhealthy or they're friendly, then they don't go back out. So we're actually not returning as many animals that came from the public back to the public, but what we're doing is trying to stop all the births of kittens, and that's where you'll see a huge number of improvements when the sterilization gets to be more and more common, that these outdoor cats that are semi-friendly no longer are having babies.
What would you say the percentage that are released versus otherwise?
Of the ones that came from the outdoors, it's probably 80 or 90% that are returned. But out of the total that come into the shelter, we probably have about 8,000 cats coming in per year.
Wow.
And about 600 are going back out in the community. So it's not a gigantic number, but that's 600 that couldn't be otherwise adopted.
Right. Now, typically the services, the animal shelters here are, of course, people are aware of dogs and cats. Do you accept any other types of animals here in the shelter?
We actually are focusing now primarily on dogs and cats. We've worked out an arrangement with the Humane Society, and they will start taking all of the other animals. That way, we can sort of focus our staff on becoming dog and cat experts. We can use our tax dollars very efficiently, and we can get more animals out of here alive without spending a lot of money and time on things we're not experts in.
Scott, I want to thank you for being on our program, and more importantly, thank you for what you're doing for the animals in our community. And Shane, thank you for being such a good little kitty, and we're going to work on finding you that special home. Speaking of which, we're going to go over to Chris now, and we're going to learn all about the adoption program. So if you're looking to adopt that special pet into your family, this is going to be your opportunity to learn how you can do that. And joining us with Chris is going to be John Page as well. So Chris and John, over to you.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm here with John Page, who's the operations manager at the Pet Resource Center here in Hillsborough County. John, welcome, and you've got Skylar with you?
Yes, Chris. This is Skylar. He's a 4-year-old Silky Terrier.
Well, fantastic. And Skylar is one of the many dogs and cats up for adoption here at the Pet Resource Center?
Yes, we have a lot of animals available. Cats, kittens, puppies, dogs, all breeds. All available for adoption.
Fantastic. And tell us, if you're someone at home that's thinking about adopting a dog or a cat, what are some of the things that you should be asking yourself in terms of preparation, and am I the right kind of person to have a pet, and what do I need to be thinking about doing?
Like Chris, I think the first thing is their lifestyle. What do they like to do? Do they like to stay home? Do they work a lot? Are they very active? And that's the pet would be a part of that. Do they want a lap dog like Skylar would make a great lap dog, or do they want somebody that goes for a run with them? So that's what they need to start thinking about. Are they thinking about a dog or a cat? And that's a lot of the decisions they need to make before they come. And then once they come, they're looking for an animal that's going to meet their needs and the lifestyle of the home. Do they live in an apartment or a house? Do they have a yard? Some things like that they just need to consider.
And folks who live in a condo or an apartment obviously need to think about what's the landlord going to say.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the other things that you encounter in terms of people coming in and having questions about, the appropriateness for a different breed or a dog versus a cat?
Well, I mean, some things are, does the animal like kids? If they have kids, does the animal get along well with other animals? And cats, I mean, cats are, they pretty much take care of themselves. You give them food, water, and
clean litter box.
Yes, sir. They pretty much can, take care of themselves. They want somebody to love them and care for them, but they're pretty self-sufficient, whereas a dog needs a lot more care.
Right.
So it's really dependent upon the lifestyle and what the preference is for the individual.
And someone comes in here today, if they want to adopt a dog or a cat, how long is it going to take? What's the procedure?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to let them come in and check out our animals available. So we've got dogs and cats. We're going to focus them to those areas, let them look at those animals, and if they see something they're interested in, then they would come up front to our adoption staff and tell them they would like to fill out an application to adopt the animal. Once they fill out the adoption application, they would pay the fee for the adoptions, and at that point, take the animal home with them.
Now, I know that the Pet Resource Center often has discounts on the adoption fee. What is the normal adoption fee? And then tell us a little bit about the discounts that come up from time to time.
Well, the adoption fees vary. The normal adoption fee is about $145. We have a discount for seniors. We have a discount for maybe older animals, and then a special. We have a special we're running right now. A lot of the animals that are on our adoption floor, cats, kittens, even dogs, are $20 for adoptions.
John, tell us a little bit about the hours of operation here.
Chris, the hours of operation for adoptions are 10 to 7, 7 days a week. For intake, for strays, is 7 days a week from 1 to 5. And for owner surrenders, they're 1 to 5, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
And also for making the donations of blankets and food and whatnot, you have bins out front?
Yes, sir. We have bins out front, so at their convenience, they can come drop off in our yellow bins out front of the building. They can also see the website to look at any items that they would like to donate.
Of course, we'd rather them come out when you're open and come home with a new pet, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, very good. John, we appreciate you being here, and thank you, Skylar. And if you'd like to adopt a pet, come out and visit at the Hillsborough Pet Resource Center right here on Falkenberg Road, and you can also find more information by visiting the website hillsboroughcounty.org/pets, and we're going to have some pictures of some pets that are currently available and up for adoption, so stay tuned. Back to the studio.
Well, Chris, I don't know about you, but I am really impressed and really encouraged by all the improvements that have happened at the Pet Resource Center.
They do a great job out there helping out all the animals, and it's great to know that the center is there to help and get the message out to the citizens about what they need.
Well, it is a community effort to take care of all of our animals, and we're going to do our part as the county and need all of our citizens to get involved to do theirs. After this quick break, we'll answer your questions, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
Planting a garden and watching it grow is fun and fulfilling, but you may inadvertently be growing something dangerous, mosquitoes. But there's an easy way to nip them in the bud: drain and cover. Mosquitoes breed in standing water, so take a look at things in your yard that could collect water and drain them. Wear long-sleeved shirts and pants, use mosquito repellent with DEET, and put screens on doors and windows. Remember, don't grow mosquitoes, drain and cover.
Welcome back. During this next segment, we'll address your questions that were submitted by our viewers.
And our first question is from John Waring of Lithia.
Hi, I'm John Waring. I live over in Brandon, and Commissioner Beckner, my question is, are there any future plans for expansion of the Crosstown Expressway, say like they did from I-4 over to the Crosstown, and maybe the Crosstown back over towards the airport?
Ray Shiramonti, Executive Director of the county's Planning Commission, has a response to Mr. Waring's question. Ray.
In answer to John's question, we're not directly going to connect the Selman Expressway to the airport in any different way like the Crosstown Connector was done, but we are looking at connecting our downtown area and maybe ultimately the USF area with the airport via fixed guideway transit such as rail in our future plans. So that to me is a lot more exciting because it gets cars off the road and gives people alternative ways to get to our airport.
Our next question is from George Petrick of Riverview. He writes, as Hillsborough County has a constant problem with the blight of snipe signs throughout our community, would it be possible for Hillsborough County to adopt the method used in Orlando and Hollywood, Florida to combat this blight?
Well, that is an interesting question, Chris. And here to answer Mr. Petrick's question is Ron Spiller, the Director of Code Enforcement and Pet Resources for Hillsborough County.
Thank you, Mr. Petrick, for your question. For our viewers that may not know what snipe signs are, these are the small plastic signs that you'll see at the corner of intersections on the right-of-way advertising to different types of businesses. Those signs are illegal, and code enforcement is charged with the enforcement of the ordinance regarding those signs. We currently address those signs in two manners. By the officers, as their duty and time permits, to pick the signs up and dispose of them. Additionally, we have a volunteer group that comes out on the weekends and targets area to pick those type of signs off the right-of-way. In the last 12 months, we've picked up over 36,000 of those signs. But the signs are still there, and we are looking at initiatives to help us enforce those signs. One of those things are called robocalling, and robocalling is an automated system that we would enter in the phone numbers on those signs, so the system would continuously call them in an attempt to have them pull their signs from the right-of-way, where the officers wouldn't be involved. And a number of agencies around the state use that system. We are researching it. There are some parts of that we need to research on how that would work for us and what would need to be done to make that work, and which may also require a change of ordinance. Additionally, we've had conversation with the Sheriff's Office about enhanced enforcement options which they are very receptive to, and we're working with them moving forward on those things. In the month of November, all the code departments in the county, the 4 code departments, have agreed to, on one particular day, to go out and all hands on board to pick up snipe signs that one day. We recognize that snipe signs are a problem. We're working on them, and we will continue to work on them to get those signs off the right-of-way.
That's all the time we have for questions and answers this week. If you'd like to review the questions or anything else that we've covered on the show, go to CommissionerBeckner.com and click on the It's Your County link. You can also submit a question for a future show by visiting that site.
Well, that's going to do it for another edition of our show. I want to thank you for watching and hope you'll join us for our next show. And remember to get involved and stay connected, because it's your county. You can and do make a difference. Until next time, be well.